This episode and the next few following it are going to be dedicated to a theory of group development. The proposal originally put forward by Tuckman was that there were 4 stages of group forming, and these were forming, storming, norming, and performing. In the 70s, I think it was 1977, a 5th stage was added by Tuckman himself, and it was called Adjourning. Now, I wanted to talk about these 5 stages today because they're something that you do observe in the working world pretty regularly, and you see it when teams get set up for specific projects, but you also see it kind of in another form if working groups get established or internal committees. And even if you have a new person joining an existing team, it's almost like introducing a new fish to a fish tank. You've kind of got to shuffle things around a bit and make an environment where everyone needs to adapt a little bit to allow the new person to integrate. And for each stage, I'm going to talk about what happens in that stage, and then the second part will be what you as a leader should be thinking about in that stage so that you can be more effective. So the first one that we'll cover is forming, and that's when you bring people together for the first time at the start of a new project or when you first introduce that new team member. People's focus in the forming stage is all about meeting the other people, understanding the issues that they are going to be addressing as a new team. They also want to figure out where they belong in the group and what the structure of the group is going to be, how it's going to be led, what expectations are in terms of what they need to report to who, when. This is a stage where there's a lot of discussion, but the discussion is mostly quite polite because people are trying to make a good impression. They're meeting people for the first time. They're trying to get facts rather than, I guess, defend positions at this point. So, overall, it's a very positive experience compared to some of the later stages that we're going to talk about, like storming, where you do start seeing conflicts for the first time. People's motivation is usually high, so they tend to be more agreeable with the things that are being suggested because they're developing this image in their mind of what the project could be, what they might achieve, all the things that they personally would like to bring to it. The stamp they would like to leave. One of the first things that I think you can do in the forming stage to really help things along is to initiate those introductions. So in a team environment, that's really saying, okay, everyone, we're here to do this, but first of all, let's go around the table, introduce who you are, what section you're from, why you've been included in the group. You can also integrate some kind of icebreaker activities. To be honest, I haven't experimented with many. I try and promote a sense of openness within the team without necessarily getting out toys or slinkies or some of the other things that I see people doing. The whole purpose of the introductions and the icebreakers, if you do them, is to get people feeling comfortable in the group and starting to feel confident in their position in the group. This is also your chance to clearly communicate what you would like to see out of the project. So you can give context as you understand it. You can give a background, how the project got to where it is, why the team has been formed, but then also be clear what you would like to see out of it. And that extends not only to the final product, but how you would like the team to work in the lead up. Like, would you like people to meet weekly? Would you like them to meet fortnightly? Would you like them to dedicate one day each week to working on the project and email you as soon as they achieve a milestone? Do you want them meeting as smaller subgroups to address particular topics and then report back? Do you want them to report back to the whole group or just to you? Do you want to be the funnel through which all of the project information passes and then gets filtered back out again? So these are all, I guess, your expectations that you can communicate clearly at this point to make sure that you're actually getting what you want from the team and that they know that if they meet those criteria, then you will be happy, because sometimes the biggest demotivator of people is ambiguity and not knowing whether or not they're they're hitting the mark, whether or not they're meeting people's expectations of their performance. I suggest not being absolutely militant at this stage, because you do want to create a sense of collaboration within the team. So it might be an idea to say, this is how I pictured it playing out, weekly meetings, this is, reporting to me, rah, rah, rah. If you think there's a better way of doing it, suggest it during this meeting, and I'll have a think about whether or not that would work. And what you're doing there is you're right from the outset making it clear to the team that feedback will be taken on board. Of course, if someone gives you feedback, then you have to accept that feedback gracefully, regardless of whether or not you necessarily like it, because if you're going to set that precedent of being a collaborative leader, then you need to reinforce that positive behavior, which is the behavior that you've asked for. And then, it's up to you to consider whether or not that particular suggestion will work for you in this context, but receive it gratefully, say thank you, and be gracious about how you manage it. Do take the time to respect the fact that someone has gone out on a limb to give you that suggestion. And the last point I'd make about this forming stage is that even if you're not a particularly visible leader normally, this is really the stage where you need to make an effort to be visible, because this is really where you're providing that sense of security, that sense of structure to the team. You're letting them know that things are under control, that someone has got this, that there is a hierarchy that they need to report to, that there are expectations that need to be met. So make the effort to be visible, make the effort to be approachable, in the first couple of weeks. Same goes if you're introducing a new person to the team. Essentially what you're doing is you're repeatedly setting expectations each time people encounter you over this early period, so that it becomes habit. That's all I wanted to say today on forming. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll try and answer them in the comments below, or if we get enough questions, another episode or another discussion. Remember, these are just my opinions and my experience. Adapt it as you will to your own scenario. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for an episode on storming.